Rock and roll, often written as rock and roll or rock and roll, is a genre of popular music that originated and evolved in the United States during the late 1940s and in the early 1950s, primarily from a combination of African American blues, country, jazz, and gospel music. Though elements of rock and roll can be heard in country records of the 1930s and in the blues records from the 1920s, rock and roll did not acquire its name until the 1950s.
The term rock and roll now has at least two different meanings: the rock music and as music that originated the mid-1950s and later developed into the more encompassing international style known as rock music.
In the earliest rock and roll styles of the late 1940s and early 1950s, either the piano or saxophone was also in the lead instrument, but these were generally replaced by guitar in the middle to late 1950s. The beat is essentially a blues rhythm with an accentuated backbeat. The latter almost always provided by a snare drum. Classic rock and roll is usually played with one or two electric guitars, one lead, one rhythm, a string bass, or after the mid-1950s an electric bass guitar and a drum kit. Beyond simply a musical style, rock and roll is seen in movies and on television, influenced lifestyles, fashion, attitudes, and language. It went on to spawn various subgenres, often without the initially characteristic backbeat, that are now more commonly called simply rock music or rock.
I'll be talking about the legendary Monkees. In 1965, many people responded to an ad looking for young males for a new comedy show called The Monkees. Davy Jones, Mickey Dolenz, Michael Nesmith, and Peter Tork got to star in The Monkees starting on September 12, 1966. The audiences loved the funny antics of the band.
Queen is a British rock band formed in London in 1971, originally consisting of the late Freddie Mercury, Brian May, John Deacon, and Roger Taylor. Queen's earliest works were influenced by progressive rock, but the band gradually ventured into more conventional and radio-friendly works, incorporating more diverse and innovative styles in their music. Queen enjoyed success in the UK with their debut and its follow-up, Queen II, but it was the release of Sheer Heart Attack and A Night at the Opera that gained the band international success. The latter featured Bohemian Rhapsody, which stayed at number 1 in the UK singles chart for 9 weeks. It charted at number 1 in several other territories and gave the band their first top 10 hit on the US Billboard Hot 100. Their 1977 album, News of the World, contained two of rock's most recognizable anthems, We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions. By the early 1980s, Queen was one of the biggest stadium rock bands in the world, and their performance at 1985's Live Aid is regarded as one of the greatest in rock history. The band has released a total of 18 number 1 albums, 18 number 1 singles, and 10 number 1 DVDs. Estimates of their album sales generally range from 150 million to 300 million albums, making them one of the world's best-selling musical artists. They received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the British phonographic industry in 1990 and were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2001.
Gary Glitter is an English former glam rock singer, songwriter, and musician. Glitter first came to prominence in the glam rock era of the early 1970s. He had a long solo UK chart run during the 1970s with several hits including Rock and Roll Parts 1 and 2, I Love You, You Love Me, I'm the Leader of the Gang, and Hello, Hello, I'm Back Again. Between 1972 and 1995, Glitter had 26 hit singles, which spent a total of 180 weeks in the UK Top 100. 12 of those reached the top 10, with 3 charting at number 1. He continued to record in the 1980s and 1990s with his 1984 song Another Rock and Roll Christmas became one of the most played Christmas hits of all time. He released 7 studio albums and at least 15 greatest hits collection of live albums. In 1998, his recording of Rock and Roll was listed as one of the top 1,001 songs in music history. The mostly instrumental Rock and Roll Part 2 had been played it as a popular cheering at American sporting events for several decades. The late 1990s saw Glitter's image irreparably tarnished following his 1997 arrest and 1999 conviction. This teaches us all to obey the law no matter who you are.
I'll be talking about the band Kiss. The band Kiss came together in 1972, but actually and officially started in 1973. The band Kiss has about 10 top songs. I like the band Kiss because their songs are really cool and they're wild big guys with huge afros. I hope you liked my facts on the song. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Rock and roll is a way to express your feelings without talking about it. Also, it brought different people together, like African Americans and white Americans together because they both like rock and roll.
Here's a secret from us.